Alright friends, today is going to be a very exciting video because I'm going to show you how to do your very own sky replacement. So let's say you're shooting out and about outside and you have a beautiful sunny day, no clouds in the sky, and then you get back home, you start editing your footage and you're like, this is a little too boring. The sky is too boring. It's too plain. What can you do to spice up your video? Well, you can just put in a brand new sky. And that's what I'm going to show you in today's video. Now, this effect that I'm going to show you, there's multiple ways on how to do it. You can do what is called a chroma key, a luma key, or even masking. Today, I'm going to show you how to do the chroma key way. And if you like this video, I'll show you those two other ways in another video on how to do a proper sky replacement. Now, there's a few things that you have to remember when shooting this type of footage for this kind of effect. Make sure that if your camera has that 422 10-bit recording that you enable that. The Sony a7S III has those features, so it did a fantastic job in creating a clean key. Now this shot did take a few tries because I had issues with foreground. For example, the tall skinny weeds that would poke into the shot, those are very difficult to key out or get rid of. So when you're shooting this type of effect, make sure that you have minimal foreground, or at least if you have foreground, that it's very visible, and you're gonna see exactly what I mean when we start editing. All right, so here we are in Final Cut Pro. Don't worry if you have Adobe Premiere Pro. This process is very similar, if not exactly the same. And the good news is that you can download the same exact clips in today's video by using the link in the description box, so that way you can follow along and get some practice in. So I'm gonna go ahead and import my first video clip, which is this one right here. I shot this in 120 frames per second. Now, since this is shot in 422 10-bit, your computer might have some issues playing this back smoothly. For example, my computer had a pretty bad issue with this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna enable proxies. And what this does is that it will downscale or down-res the quality of the video so that way your computer can process it better. Now, some downsides with this is that you're gonna start seeing some color banding and it might be a little bit more difficult to create that chroma key. So when we start doing those effects, we'll re-enable the optimized preview or the original preview so that way we get the best quality effect possible. All right, so what I'm gonna start off by doing is slowing down the footage to 20%. So I'm gonna go to custom, slow down to 20%. Next, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna color correct this footage because as you can see, this was shot in S-Log3, so it's very flat. I'm gonna highlight the clip, I'm gonna go to my color corrector here, I'm gonna go to my exposure, and then I'm gonna enable video scope so that way I can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna play around with the blacks here, drop them down. I'm not gonna crush them completely because I wanna see some detail left in those mountains. So I'm gonna keep them right about there. I'm gonna increase my highlights all the way up to almost 100, not necessarily that high, but just right about there. I'm gonna increase the midtones a little bit so I can see more of her jacket right here. I'm gonna go to saturation. I'm gonna increase that saturation pretty high just because I like that saturated look for this type of shot. And when you're saturating this clip, you're making the bluers more blue. So that's gonna help us out with that chroma key effect. Now what we can do, we can actually isolate color correction to just being the sky. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the color board here. I'm gonna add another color board. Then I'm gonna create a color mask by clicking this little button right here. I'm gonna select the color of the sky and I'm gonna do my best to mask it out. So once I've done that, I'm gonna go to saturation and then I'm gonna increase that saturation of that blue so that way we get a very blue sky. I'm gonna go back to exposure. I see that there's a little bit too much white here. I wanna drop the highlights just a little bit so we see more of that blue fill up the frame. Next, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my effects panel. I'm going to search for keyer. And Final Cut Pro has a very powerful chroma keyer. It's very good. Probably one of the best ones that I've ever used. So here's the keyer. I'm gonna drag and drop it right onto the clip. Cool. All right, now what I'm gonna do, I'm going to enable the optimize original media just so we get slightly better quality to work with. As you can see here, the keyer is having a tough time keying out the upper left part of the frame. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna disable the keyer by going to my effects, And I'm going to mess around more with the color correction so that way I can get a better blue and overall a better key. As you can see here, I'm dropping the highlights here because I had a lot of white bleeding in through the upper left part of the frame, and that's what was causing that issue with the chroma key. Now I'm going to go back to my chroma keyer, enable that, and now I'm going to just mess around with the settings on the chroma keyer. I'm going to sample the color, just drag a box in the sky here, and whatever is black is basically transparent. And as you can see here, we have some white holes in the sky here, and that's going to be a problem for us when we finish this effect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mess around with some more of the settings here. The edges here, once selected, you can actually mess around with how the chroma key effect is working. So I'm just going to mess around with the setting here, see if I can clean that up. It looks like that's not really working, so I'm going to undo that. You can also mess around with the strength of the chroma key effect and see if that will help you out. Most likely it won't, since it already did a pretty decent job. So I'm going to go to the fill holes option and see if that helps me. All right, it looks like it doesn't. All right, so it looks like we're getting in a little bit of trouble here. So this is what I'm going to do. Since I already have a transparent sky, I'm just going to go ahead and put in my sky just so I can see how it looks. All right, I'm just going to drag and drop it right under the chroma keyed clip, and let's just see how it looks. It looks pretty darn epic, okay? You can see like the before and after, guys. There's honestly no comparison to the before and after of this shot. And now you can start hearing the fans in my computer kick up because it's doing a lot of processing, so I do apologize about that. But as you can see right here, we have some of those weird white dots just bleeding through the shot, and we can definitely get rid of that by adding a mask. So in your effects browser, just search for mask. Here's draw mask. I'm going to drag and drop it onto the chroma keyed clip, and now I'm just going to draw mask right over those white dots. Once you connect the mask, basically everything is going to disappear. Don't freak out. Just go to your mask properties and invert it. Done. Now you can see that we have a beautiful sky that's consistent all around, and we don't have any weird holes bleeding through. Next, what you're going to have to do, since this shot is dynamic, it's moving, you're going to have to animate the mask or keyframe it. So with the mask selected, you want to go into your transforms, enable all of the keyframes, and then enable the control point keyframes, and then go frame by frame and animate that mask. So don't forget that if you go frame by frame and move the mask around, you're automatically creating keyframes. So that makes it more convenient when making this effect happen. Now, if you want some really soft edges around your mask, all you have to do is increase the feather amount. And that's the effect. It's as easy as that. Well, I wouldn't say it's that easy, but with practice, it will just open up the possibilities to your creativity. Now, there is another thing that I do want to show you, and that is issues with foreground. So I have another clip right here, and I'm going to drag and drop it into my timeline. So right here in the shot, you can actually see some weeds going into the sky. They're very thin and very unnoticeable, which is very bad, because when you're doing the chroma key effect, you're actually going to have some issues with those weeds bleeding through and just ruining the shot in general. So make sure that when you're creating a shot like this, that you don't have any weird foreground that your camera can't really pick up that well. And with that said, we are all done. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, if you learned something, please subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in another one. Peace.